to Mega Wellness Summit. I'm your host, Nikki Jensen. What if I told you that your mouth could be making you sick? Would you believe me? Today we're talking to Dr. Curatola, and we're discussing the new science of the oral microbiome and how it has literally changed everything we know about disease and wellness. Dr. Curatola is an internationally recognized integrative dentist who serves on the board of directors of the Organic and Natural Health Association in Washington, D.C. He is the co-founder and chairman of the board of CS Bioscience, which has developed and patented a line of natural oral care products known as Revitin. He's a regularly featured health expert to the Dr. Oz Show, ABC, NBC, and Fox Television Networks. Dr. Gerry, how are you?
I am good, Nikki. I'm really good, and thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, well, you deserve it. I'm so honored that you're a part of Mega Wellness Summit. I really am. And I know that you are extremely busy, so I don't want to take much of your time, but I just want to jump right into it because this is such an interesting topic, and
Sure.
Not many people know about it.
Absolutely.
So
and that's why, I wanted to say one thing before you start. I
Sure.
really love that you're doing this Mega Wellness Summit, and I really appreciate you bringing oral health into the mix because often oral health is sort of the 800-pound gorilla in the room that nobody wants to talk to. So there's diet and nutrition and gut microbiome and all that, but the mouth is just so important.
It really is, and I'm just so grateful that you actually came in my path so that you can show our listeners that this is definitely a big, important part of our well-being and our health.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So my first question to you is, there are 5 worst ingredients in natural toothpaste, and I use natural toothpaste, and I'm so upset about this.
Well, everyone thinks the word natural means it must be good for you, and they have all kinds of ideas of things, and the main approach of natural toothpaste has been to take conventional toothpaste and just make it healthier. And what they don't realize is that conventional approaches to oral care are really obsolete at this point, as obsolete as when we used to think the earth was flat and now we know the earth is round. What's interesting is that natural toothpaste people automatically think are good for you because if it's natural, there's a connotation that it's not artificial or harmful. So most natural toothpaste have sort of mimicked or copied what conventional toothpaste was doing for years. But now we know that the approaches we had in oral care of the past, these bug-killing approaches like killing plaque and killing bacteria in the mouth, is not only ineffectual, it's harmful. And as a matter of fact, the bacteria in your mouth are part of a very complex community we call the oral microbiome. And the oral microbiome has a very important function of protecting you from deadly viruses and bacteria in the environment around us. In addition to that, it's the bacteria on the first line of defense for the body and works with the salivary immune system, and they even produce vitamins. It's an important first stage of digestion. So these bacteria are not invaders. They are normal, happy residents until we try to kill them. So this approach of using chemicals to kill bacteria in the mouth and products, commercial products with names like Listerine and Colgate Total, you have natural products that are using natural bug killers. One of them that's often abused is tea tree oil. Everybody thinks tea tree oil is so great. It's from an Australian plant, and it must be good. It has really strong antibacterial action. But that antibacterial action actually disturbs, denatures, and actually eradicates and causes a very, very significant imbalance when you use it in a toothpaste in your mouth. It causes an imbalance of this natural important ecology. So that's one. Take tea tree oil off the list. There are some others, lesser-known oils like Tulsi oil. Even peppermint oil has an important antibacterial approach. So we really have to get out of this pesticide idea of killing plaque and killing bacteria in the mouth, and we really have to think of taking care of our mouths like organic gardening. So it's just like we do organic gardening in the environment around us. We need to think about doing that in and on our bodies as well. So the first ingredient that I often say is harmful are these antimicrobial natural essential oils that we used to think were really good for you because they didn't have chemicals and they were made from herbs and different plants. The second ingredient is actually the sugar alcohols are actually those are number 2 and number 3. Sugar alcohols are, everyone thinks of xylitol and erythritol as being natural because they come from birch bark and all this stuff. And again, there's arsenic in apple pits, and that's natural, but it's not necessarily good for you. Unfortunately, the sugar alcohols are not natural at all. They're made by an industrial hydrogenation process. The same hydrogenation that is the way we make margarines. Hydrogenated products are not recognized and actually cause inflammation and disturb different systems in the body. So xylitol was being touted as a great sugar substitute because it didn't have any calories, it didn't spike your insulin, and it helped to fight plaque. It had an anti-plaque property. Now, this fighting plaque, again, is going back to that pesticide approach, and that's not really what we want to do. In fact, xylitol, most of it, about 80% of the xylitol in the world is made from GMO corn cobs, which I think, listeners would be very interested to know that the catalyst that's used in taking these GMO corn cobs and making this xylitol, supposedly good natural sugar, the catalyst is a heavy metal. It's often rainy nickel. So this is not a natural product. This is not good for you, and it's not a good ingredient in toothpaste. And unfortunately, many natural oral care companies have added xylitol to mouthwashes and chewing gums and toothpaste and all these different types of products. The other thing about xylitol, which everyone will be interested to know, is that not absorbed by the body and it's not metabolized. And what that means is that it can actually ferment in your gut. So you often find patients and users of xylitol getting intestinal bloating and gas and that type of thing. So it's not metabolized, not absorbed, and very disruptive to the oral microbiome and the gut microbiome. And most importantly, it's not natural. Another common ingredient in toothpaste is erythritol, another sugar alcohol. And erythritol is even almost worse because it gets absorbed, but it's not metabolized, and it's been responsible for esophageal reflux, even cancer of the esophagus. It's erythritol, which is in Truvia products and others, is again made by that same sugar alcohol hydrogenation process. So everyone should be careful to understand that just because things say they're natural doesn't really mean it's healthy. Another ingredient in natural toothpaste that I find a lot is sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, which baking soda has some great properties because it can actually help to elevate pH and reduce an acidic environment. The problem is using it in toothpaste is very abrasive. So you will wear your tooth enamel and even abrade gum fibers, leading to gingival recession. So you should not be brushing your mouth with baking soda. And so these are just some of the various ingredients in natural oral care products that you should really avoid.
I'm very upset right now because this is everything I do. Everything. I'm not even kidding. This is literally everything that I have been doing.
I speak to people who are really dedicated, and I'm sure many of them. That's why I'm so happy that you're doing this Mega Wellness Summit. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think you brought a great group of people together. But this is the kind of information that your listeners and your viewers need to know. They are often misinformed by manufacturers, and I just returned from a conference lecturing to over 250 holistic dentists. And these are dentists that are committed to health and committed to doing well with patients. They're committed to doing, for example, safe mercury removal. And they're also committed to fight a lot of misinformation about fluoride, which is really harmful. Fluoride lowers your IQ. It actually affects thyroid function. It's been linked to cancer. And 4 out of 10 children in America have teeth damaged by too much fluoride, a condition known as fluorosis, and they're more prone to decay, the very thing they were given fluoride to protect them from. So it's a real problem we have with the great story that was told about fluoride that in reality is far from the truth.
Well, this is interesting because before I knew anything about fluoride, and really I was in the natural world, but not like I am now. When my son was younger, he had 12 cavities in his mouth. 12. That's a lot, right?
Sure, that's a lot.
And so, my mother-in-law was saying, well, maybe you're just not giving him enough fluoride. So when I was talking to my mom, who's been very into that holistic world, she said, no, you do not want to do fluoride. We were doing fluoride rinses with him. We were doing fluorinated water with him. And then when I started reading up on how bad fluoride is, I immediately stopped.
Fluoride was sold as, the panacea for every dental cavity in the world. And the reality is there are fluoridated communities where they're putting fluoride in the water supply that have higher rates of decay than non-fluoridated communities. So it's really not about getting enough fluoride. The other thing that was never really discussed or talked about is what happens to your teeth and bones when they're exposed to fluoride. Fluoride is a very highly reactive element. It's actually known as the most reactive, non-radioactive element in the periodic table of elements that you learned in high school chemistry. Fluoride actually pushes out one of the elements. Our teeth and bones are made of a mineral known as hydroxyapatite. So hydroxyapatite there's an OH minus, which is the hydroxy, and apatite is an AP plus. What happens when you're exposed to fluoride, hydroxyapatite becomes fluorapatite. And so that fluoride rapidly gets absorbed into teeth and bones. And what does it do? Well, does it make teeth and bones stronger? No. Does it make it harder? Yes. So just like a porcelain cup, it will be hard to scratch it, or a porcelain plate, hard to scratch, but it makes teeth and bones more brittle. So fluorapatite has very little flexibility, and what we saw in the 1980s, after about 20 or 30 years of fluoridation, is we saw an exponential increase in hip fracture rates. And orthopedists were, how many people do you know getting hip replacements, knee replacements, shoulder replacements, elbow replacements, you name it. And in the dentistry, we saw teeth that were very dense and very hard that would have these pinhole cavities. You couldn't almost detect them because the enamel was so thick and hard. And then there was a blowout of decay under the enamel of that tooth. So it is not the kind of element that makes teeth stronger, but it does remineralize these teeth with a harder element, but it is which is fluorapatite. But again, that can be very brittle, just like a porcelain or a piece of glass.
So what do we do instead of fluoride?
Well, that's the $1 million question, or the $1 billion question. And what you need to do first is it's all about nutrition. One of the most famous dentists that ever lived, and he gets far less recognition than he should, is Dr. Weston Price. This man, in the early 1900s, was observing the diets of primitive civilizations versus more civilized societies that had more refined carbohydrates and foods and things like that. And, of course, the decay rates were much greater in the civilized societies. The more primitive societies had much less decay and much less deformities of the teeth and jaws. So he saw less skeletal deformities, and he saw much less decay. And so he started to look at what's in those diets that's different than what's in the diets of more civilized societies. And he found, believe it or not, essential fatty acids, that you need these healthy oils, coconut oil, flaxseed oil. I'm a big fan of healthy fats, which, we went through all kinds of crazy dietary trends in our country where we went from no fat to, eating unhealthy
high
fats.
Carbs.
And the reality is all of this imbalance in diet and everything causes inflammation. And so it's really about diet. So I guess if there was one thing that I would recommend the most to your listeners would be take a look and Google the Dr. Weston Price, the Weston Price Foundation. The Weston Price diet is really, really interesting. And one of the cornerstones of the Weston Price diet is a bone mineral broth. So actually, diet can heal cavities. And I have seen this happen, where you can actually heal your teeth. And as a dentist, years ago, I never thought this would be possible. But what I know now is that we can stimulate remineralization without using toxic chemicals. And we can stimulate remineralization in a healthy environment for the process of remineralization, which, by the way, is a very natural process in the mouth with your teeth. It happens with the saliva and the bacteria in your mouth work together to promote a healthy environment to get minerals into teeth, like calcium and phosphorus, these types of things, to keep your teeth and bones strong.
So for somebody who is going from Crest, using Crest toothpaste, to listening to this is like a complete 360. So what would you say to somebody who's going to be changing their life and going to move away from Crest? Where do they go? What do they start with?
I love your questions, by the way.
Aw,
They're great. They're great. And my first response to what you just asked is, how do they go 180 on everything they thought was good that we know is not? And even dentists, and I was just saying, I just came back from this IAOMT conference lecturing to the dentists at one of their annual conferences. And many of them, and I presented the science of the oral microbiome, many of them were unaware because they were just used to hearing things a certain way, and they meant well, but just, for example, xylitol. A lot of dentists think xylitol is great, and xylitol is very disruptive to this natural ecology of the mouth. So what does someone do who's using Crest and wants to start making changes? The first thing I want to say is take baby steps. Remember, turning around your oral health, which is really so important for total body wellness. We could talk about that because gum disease, for example, is linked to everything from Alzheimer's to colon cancer, literally from one end of your body to the other. And so what do you do if you want to turn around your oral health? The first thing is start to take baby steps. And I have 4 cornerstones of oral health. And I call them cornerstones because each one of them are really important. The first one I always say is take the junk out of the trunk. Just get rid of the toxic stuff that you might be using. So if you're using an alcohol mouthwash that's drying to the mouth, it's full of chemicals, stop. You're better off just rinsing with warm Himalayan salt that has 84 trace minerals, and it's really good for you. You want to put a little flavor in there, add a little of essential oil of tangerine or orange or a little lemon essential oil, make your own little blend, and you could flavor, something like that. And it's really, really good for you because these trace minerals in something like pink Himalayan salt is so good for you. So stop the alcohol mouthwash. Stop the detergent toothpaste. Stop the natural toothpaste. One of the reasons why I spent 17 years of my life pioneering the development of a healthy, intelligent, natural oral care formulation was because I saw that no one, even some of the natural toothpaste that don't use xylitol and that don't use tea tree oil and they're not bug killers and all this stuff, even some of those, they just don't do anything good either. So I went and patented coenzyme Q10 and vitamin C, for example, in an oral care formulation that has vitamin E and MSM and some selenium. And then I'm a big fan of homeopathic cell salts, microminerals that have a bioenergetic property to stimulate remineralization naturally in the mouth and improve bone density and bone harmony. So, for example, homeopathic fluoride, Calcarea fluorica, has almost the opposite effect of chemical fluoride. It has none of the toxic side effects, and it actually has an energetic property that's been shown to improve or stimulate your body's ability to remineralize teeth in the mouth naturally. So I developed this formulation, called it NewPath Bioactives. NewPath is actually a short mnemonic for nutritional homeopathic. And what we saw, we started doing clinical studies, and this oral care formulation was doing all kinds of terrific things that were improving the color and tone of the gum tissue and helping to rebalance the natural ecology of the mouth. Many patients reported their gums stopped bleeding in one day just using this type of thing. Teeth get whiter, breath gets fresher, not because we're camouflaging the odor-causing bacteria, but because we're promoting a healthy balance of natural, healthy oral bacteria that work to support your body and actually keep you alive. So eliminate the toxic products would be the first cornerstone. The second one is nutrition, and I urged all of your listeners to look at the Western Price Foundation, the Western Price Diet. Some people think it's more on the paleo side, but I'm not so, extreme. It reminds me of the Dr. Atkins diet where everybody was eating steak and shooting whipped cream in their mouth because that was on the Atkins diet, and they weren't touching any carbs. And there was a terrible, terrible, stressful effect on the body if you tried to do Atkins long term. So it's all about balance again, and baby steps. So nutrition is also really important. I always like to say make sure you have the triple A's in your nutrition: alkalizing, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant rich. Some people, there are all kinds of inflammatory triggers, believe it, as we know, gluten and dairy for some people are major triggers, and for other people it could be something as simple as corn, which has an inflammatory effect. So nutrition, triple A's, and look at the Western Price Foundation. Two more really important for turning your oral health around and throwing your conventional toothpaste in the garbage pail. The third one is stress management, and stress is very debilitating in the mouth. And I don't know if you have any speakers speaking about stress management techniques, but everything from tapping to meditation to just even yoga, a good yoga practice.
We have a little bit of that.
You do? That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So the stress management for me is what happens when you're under stress. Saliva dries up. That's a major problem for tooth decay and gum disease. You grind your teeth. You clench your teeth. Does a lot of damage. Energetically, very harmful to the whole body. You get TMJ-related issues. So stress management is really important to have a healthy mouth. And the fourth one is exercise and fitness. I'm talking about healthy exercise, not really over-exercising. Over-exercising can actually be stressful. Some people get hooked on the endorphin release, and it is very, it's almost that type of addiction. You can actually cause a lot of problems in the body, which I don't want to get into. But good exercise or regular exercise improves circulatory competence and immune system competence. Circulatory function and immune competence, very important in the mouth. And that's what regular exercise helps to do. So those are four cornerstones for turning things around.
Oh, my gosh. This was about $1 million worth of a conversation. I am absolutely blown away by this. I really wasn't expecting you to come on and basically annihilate everything that I have been doing for years now. But I appreciate it very much because now, I mean, my diet is very clean, and I think that there's people who are listening who are going to be making changes to their diet after listening to Mega Wellness Summit and all the different speakers and all the different concepts that we have. But you're right, by making baby steps in everything that we do in our life is about making small changes, little bits of it at a time. I mean, I didn't change my entire life in 5 minutes. It took me 5 years.
Right.
And so what you just said is worth $1 million, and I really appreciate it very much.
It's my pleasure, Nikki. And, you know, I was first approached by you about this. I knew what you were trying to do. And what I really liked about what you were trying to do is you weren't trying to talk to the health gurus and the experts. You were trying to talk to everyday people who are trying to make a difference in their lives. And
absolutely,
so many of them are not equipped and don't know. And I appreciate what you said because you're someone who's been committed to wellness and all. And I just put concepts out there to you that were as probably big a change in understanding as, you know, when we knew the earth wasn't the center of the universe, you know. So, you know, there's been all through history, there have been discoveries and enlightenments that have helped people live a better life, you know, and this is, you know, really an important part of making the world a better place by helping people live healthier. You know, I've been a dentist for 32 years, which I can't believe because I still feel like I'm 30. But besides that, I can say that, you know, I often get to examine patients and see things in the mouth that relate to the condition of their body. And I see so much dis-ease related to an imbalance and a lack of understanding of how people can take care of themselves better. So the good news is doing something like this Mega Wellness Summit, is it makes it very accessible for people. And I hope I wasn't, you know, making it too difficult, but again, what kept coming through over and over in my mind as I was speaking is to help your listeners take these baby steps, maybe just one a week. You know, they say it takes about 21 days to break habits, to start to, you know, reduce, you know, bad dietary choices, bad oral care decisions, and bad oral care maintenance.
So for all these people who are, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
not at all.
I'm disturbed by just one thing that just kind of popped up. For all these dentists out there who, you know, are preaching the wrong way of really doing dentistry, you know, where are they getting their information from, and where are you getting your information from that sets you two apart? Well,
you know, a lot, you know, the dental profession has an organized body known as the American Dental Association. The American Dental Association is officially a not-for-profit, but it is supported by major oral care companies that make billions of dollars on existing products. The products like Crest and Colgate are billions and billions of dollars of revenue a year, so there's a vested interest in keeping the status quo. And unfortunately, a lot of dentists continue to accept misinformation and are not open to changing their thinking and their way. They're used to doing things a certain way, and a lot of people are creatures of habit. So what I would recommend to your listeners is that if you feel your dentist is stuck, and even if he's the nicest guy in the world, I would challenge him as to what he thinks about the use of the continued use of mercury in dentistry. dental mercury accounts for 90% of the environmental mercury pollution, according to the World Health Organization. I would ask you to ask your dentist, if he has investigated the other side of the story about fluoride, that it's not all that it's cooked up to be, and we have a lot of serious problems related to the overuse of fluoride and the continued use of fluoride.
I see a lot of dentists that are no longer using amalgams, which is fantastic.
That's the fantastic part. The not fantastic part, and what I would like to, there's two other things I think it's really important in this oral health advisory segment that we're doing together. One of them is it's very, very essential that if you have a mercury filling, a dental amalgam, which were often miscalled silver fillings, it's actually a minority of silver, 52% of the filling is generally, more than 50% is mercury. Some of dental amalgam fillings have more mercury than a thermometer. So what I really want to emphasize is that when these fillings are removed, mercury goes all over, not just the air, but all over your mouth. And often people swallow amalgam debris during its removal. This is very toxic. So it's very important that anyone listening right now that might think about having their amalgam fillings replaced because there's decay or other reasons or health concerns they may have, that it is done by a mercury-safe dentist. So a mercury-safe dentist is someone who goes through a protocol, the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. They can go to IAOMT.org, IAOMT.org, which is an organization that does safe mercury removal. And these organizations, and there's another biologic dentist organization, there's a protocol. It should be done under a rubber dam. I use nutritional products before I remove dental mercury. I actually give patients selenium, which binds to mercury in the urinary tract, and chlorella, which binds to mercury in the digestive tract. And I use a methylation agent so that if there's any free mercury going around, it locks it up and you can excrete this. And it's not getting absorbed into your cells, which it has an affinity for. So I put oxygen on the patient's nose, for example, and we have a evacuation system in the room that eliminates mercury vapor that's in the air, which is odorless, colorless, and tasteless. So you don't even know it's there, but yet in the system I have, there's a metal plate at the foot of the chair, and it actually gets a gray dust sometimes, and that's mercury vapor. So mercury is one of the most neurotoxic elements on Earth. So that was one big thing I wanted your listeners to hear, is that make sure you go to a mercury-safe dentist, and you can find one at the IAOMT.org, a not-for-profit organization that promotes safe mercury removal. The final thing I want to talk about is, I mentioned it before, a lot of people use mouthwash because their breath smells, and so they use something with alcohol and chemicals and stuff to kind of camouflage the bad breath, which is really treating the symptom and not the cause. When you have a healthy mouth, you don't have bad breath. So that's the first thing. But there's another side, and that is about teeth whitening. And this is something that I think we had planned to speak about, but I want to bring up something first, because teeth whitening has been the most requested cosmetic procedure in America. Everybody wants a white smile, and nobody wants a yellow smile. So there are all kinds of over-the-counter products like white strips and gels and trays and things people can do at home. But what people don't realize is that whitening your teeth generally uses a form of peroxide, and that peroxide is called hydrogen peroxide, or a derivative of hydrogen peroxide called carbamide peroxide. Peroxide is a very powerful oxidizer, and oxidation is the same process that can rust your wrought iron furniture. So what happens when you use an oxidizer in the mouth, like peroxide, it releases thousands and thousands of cancer-causing free radicals. So if this peroxide gel is touching your gums, you can actually get a peroxide burn on your gums, but often they're not strong enough to do that. But they do eliminate and reduce important levels of antioxidant protection in your mouth. So when you use an oxidizer, you lower antioxidants, which we often hear, antioxidants are good for you. They protect you against oxidative stress or oxidative damage. What does this mean? Well, in 2006, a study came out from Georgetown University Medical Center by doctors who were looking at patients with oral cancer. They were finding young patients in their 20s that were diagnosed with cancer in the mouth. And they didn't drink, they didn't smoke. These were young patients, and the only common denominator is they were really into using whitening products, and we often call those people bleacherexics. Because they're addicted to using these whitening products. And remember, the over-the-counter stuff is poorly regulated and poorly controlled. So they think, I'm going to use this whitening product. As a matter of fact, at the lecture I gave down at the IAOMT meeting to the holistic dentist, there was a dentist there who had actually sent the at-home whitening products to a stepson. Who was misusing it. He was really hooked on it, and he was using it 4 times as much as he should have, and he developed cancer of the tongue, under the tongue. Ugh. And he has a feeding tube right now, and it's horrible. But whitening products can be dangerous, and one of those dangers includes a risk of cancer. So how do you minimize wanting to whiten your teeth with the possibility of harming your mouth? And the first thing I want to say is getting your teeth whitened at a dentist where they put a mask over the gums or they put a barrier coating over the gums so the peroxide gel is just on the teeth, that's a really good thing. You should not whiten your teeth with hydrogen peroxide more than once every 3 months, not more than 4 times a year, not more. Often I tell patients, 6 months, but at least only not more than once a quarter. The third thing is it's really important to get your teeth checked before they're whitened. If you have a cavity or you have a loose crown or a loose filling, you can actually damage the nerve of the tooth with this powerful oxidizing gel getting underneath and into a delicate part of the tooth or near the pulp. And then finally, I think it's really important to replace the antioxidants that are lost in the mouth during the oxidative process. What nutritionals are really important in the mouth? Vitamin A, B complex, C, really important, vitamin C, vitamin D, really important for gums and bone, for teeth, gums, and bone. D is becoming really popular for a lot of reasons, of course, for bone. But then there's vitamin E, really important for connective tissue. So you got A, B, C, D, and E. And then there's coenzyme Q10, it's not quite a vitamin, it's a cofactor in your cells to make energy. It's actually a cofactor in the Krebs cycle in your mitochondria, your cells. I'm talking very technical, but it's kind of like the gas in the tank for the engine to run in your every individual cell uses CoQ10. All these are lowered during this whitening process. So beware of hydrogen peroxide at-home, hydrogen peroxide-based whitening products.
And that's what I used.
Yeah, it's serious because they often, hopefully you haven't abused it and you're fine, but it's really important because we have been seeing more cases of oral cancer. And I know cancer is when your cells go out of whack, and they operate abnormally and they divide abnormally. And so oral cancer is very serious. It can be very, very debilitating. And one American every hour, every day gets oral cancer. It's every hour someone's diagnosed with oral cancer. So it is the third largest
my father
cancer.
he had throat cancer, and he found out by going to the dentist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every dentist should be doing an oral cancer screening.
Yeah, I agree.
I know what your next question is.
What? What's that?
What are some natural ways to whiten your teeth?
Actually, yes. And then I was going to ask you the question, too, about resin with cavities.
Okay, so a lot of times tooth-colored fillings are made of a resin called composite resin. And patients are like, oh, well, at least it's not a silver mercury filling, and they like the way it looks better because it matches the color of the tooth and all. But what we have found is that composite resin, very, very important that you don't use regular composite resin because there are BPAs, bisphenols, and all kinds of chemicals in resins that can be harmful for you. There is a composite resin on the market, and you can ask your dentist about it, called Venus Pearl, like Venus the planet, Pearl, and that is a non-BPA composite resin that is good in non-stress-bearing areas of teeth. So filling cavities in non-stress-bearing areas of teeth. So the big surfaces of your molars are often not good choices for composite resin because they wear down very quickly because of the chewing force. Those are an area where I would really recommend using ceramic, which we do in our office. We actually have a system in our office where we do safe mercury removal, and we have a CAD/CAM camera system, computer design, computer manufacturer ceramic fillings called CEREC, and we have a 3D printer that makes the ceramic filling that we can bond right into the tooth while the patient's in the chair. Strong, beautiful, resilient, long-lasting, aesthetic, good for the tooth, similar properties to natural tooth enamel, ceramic restoration. CEREC, C-E-R-E-C. But composite resins, in some areas where there isn't a lot of stress, composites can be very effective and long-lasting, and you should use a BPA-free composite, and the one that's on the market is called Venus Pearl.
Okay, beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And for the whitening?
All right, so let's talk about some fun at-home whitening that's not harmful. You can whiten your teeth with a strawberry. I've been online and I've showed people how to do this, and ask.com and all these different things. I said, strawberries have a natural fruit acid called malic acid. It dissolves stains on teeth, like coffee stains and wine stains. So a lot of times if I'm doing a wine tasting, I keep a strawberry nearby. I'm only kidding. But whitening your teeth with a strawberry, you'd mash up a strawberry, add a little bit of baking soda, a little tiny bit, and then you can brush it. I often use a child's toothbrush to brush it on your teeth, leave it on for about 10 or 15 minutes. You can read the paper, go online, whatever you need to do some email, and then you rinse it off. And then you really want to avoid anything that can discolor teeth, dark-colored liquids, dark-colored foods that stain, curries, tomato sauces, and things like that. Stay away from that for about 3 or 4 days, because anytime you whiten teeth, the enamel on the surface of the teeth has to remineralize a little bit, which is what saliva does when you're sleeping with a healthy oral microbiome, a healthy oral ecology. So you can whiten with a strawberry. Another thing you can whiten with, believe it or not, is the inside of a banana peel, which is loaded with calcium and phosphorus and good ions that saliva uses to patch up your teeth. But it actually does whiten the teeth. You can rub it for a few minutes, and you need to do this like 3 or 4 days in a row. Take the inside of a banana peel, rub it on your teeth, rub it on the upper and the lower, and that is another natural whitening trick. I have another one. People should know that, I love coconut oil. Love it. And coconut oil pulling has become very, very popular. It's an ancient Ayurvedic practice that's over 3,000 years old, but you only want to do oil pulling if you're, and a lot of people wake up in the morning, they have this thick, smelly film on their teeth, and that thick, smelly film is often prone to staining the teeth, so it absorbs stain. Oil pulling is great for getting this plaque off. The thing is, if you use like the Revitin oral care product that I developed, which is Revitin, you'll wake up in the morning, and many people say they don't even feel like they have to brush because the healthy biofilm on the teeth is a thin, odorless, colorless film. When it's unhealthy, it's thick, it's smelly, and it looks milky, and it's gross. And oil pulling is great for removing that, and oil pulling in that process, that detergent process of removing unhealthy plaque, it also helps remove stain.
Wow.
And then, yeah, that's really, really, really good. So those are just, 3 different natural whitening tips, the strawberry one being my favorite.
That's so awesome. I wrote that down, and I can't wait to try it. And I'm going to be putting that all over social media, by the way, and telling everybody what I'm doing, because I'm having like 89 aha moments with this one conversation. And so you are being so generous because you're giving a offer to our listeners that they can actually do a Skype consultation with you and a gift certificate toward treatment. You're giving them $100 off?
That's correct.
Oh, my God.
And I do these Skype, the Skype conversations are, if there are your listeners have problems, I've done Skype conversations around the world, and I'm a fan of Skype. I'm Dr. Gerry Curatola at Skype, is my Skype name, DRGERYCURATOLA. And they can arrange that with my office. It has to be arranged first through my office, which I think you have my website and my telephone number for my office. But with my patient coordinator, Olivia Van West, she can help set those Skype meetings up when it's mutually convenient, and we can do it from home to home or my office to your home. And also, I would make myself available, for follow-up.
Gosh, that's so amazing. That's really amazing. And I wish that I lived in New York, because you're on Park Avenue in New York, right?
Yes. Yeah, right.
I wish I lived there at this moment.
In the heart of Manhattan. I'm right on Park and 60th Street. And,
wow.
A block from Central Park.
Can you clone you and come to San Diego?
Oh, you're tempting me after New York's weather this year.
And
I love San Diego.
I want you to be here in San Diego, please.
Well, I'd be happy to come out, Nikki, if you want to do a live event or anything. I would be happy to come out and speak to everyone, because it's really important. The work that you're doing is terrific. And again, it's really about getting this information to people who have felt, in a sense, unempowered. To join in a wellness movement that can radically change and improve their lives.
We're just getting started.
Awesome.
So this is amazing. And then Revitin, your oral care product.
Yes. Now Revitin is launching. Revitin is in a pre-launch state, which I'm sorry to say. We will be launching. I do have some Revitin available through my office. But we are going to be officially launching in September, which I feel sorry, it's about 5 months away. But you could get product if you wanted to try it by contacting my office.
So in September, what I'll do is I will repost this again, and then we'll get people. Yeah, if that's okay with you. We'll repost this again, and I can't wait to get this out to people, because everybody needs your product. I need your product like ASAP. So
well, I'd love to get some to you, and I'm excited about it because I feel that it's a whole new approach to oral care that's so much more effective and so much more respectful of the body's ability to heal itself.
Wow. Amazing. I am totally blown away. So people can contact you, right, at RejuveDentist.com?
Yes.
Or
that's our website. Yeah, they can see a little bit more about me at Rejuve Dentist, RejuveDentist, and we do have a new site that's going up, I think, in a month. But they can still get all the information they need there. It has my office telephone number and a little more information about the work that I do. and I would be delighted to come back and speak with you again. So I
would
appreciate
be
this
delighted. I'd be honored. I mean,
Thank you.
I think that you're going to be extremely busy. I mean, you're already extremely busy, but I just I hope that I can be on your agenda because you're going to be so big that I hope that
I'm
you
only
remember
5'6.5".
Well, I appreciate this phone call. This was amazing and mind-blowing for me.
Oh, my pleasure.
And for you to take time out of your busy, busy day is, I'm very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude for you putting this out to everybody and being on Mega Wellness Summit. You have no idea what it means to me.
You're very welcome, and I really appreciate those kind words.